Welcome back, everyone. We're diving straight back into the Isdal Woman mystery. So we look at the basics, and now, well, the material you sent over for this part seems to zero in on some really specific details.
That's right. It revisits some names we touched on before, but they feel, well, heavier now, We've got the aliases the Isdal woman used, Fenella Lork and Elizabeth Lienhauer.
Right, those fake names.
Yeah, confirmed fake. And then there's this mention, quite specific, of an American woman, Valentine, described as being kind of mixed into the plot.
Okay, let's pause there. Okay, let's shift focus slightly to some of the other modern research Morgan discusses.
Right. In 2018, Dennis Zacharask, a lawyer and author, reinvestigated, got access to police archives, interviewed survivors.
Did he agree about Valentine?
He acknowledged the strong connection in his book, but ultimately pursued a different theory. He linked the Isdal woman to an Italian photographer, Giovanni Trimboli.
Trimboli, what was the theory?
Ask suggested she might have been a murdered prostitute, interpreting the coded diary as client meetings.
But Kripos had already looked at Trimboli.
Yes, they'd investigated and dismissed his potential involvement earlier, even though he failed to provide a photo he promised of a woman he claimed he gave a ride to.
But there was a tangible link. That postcard wasn't there.
There was. A postcard from Trimboli was found in her suitcase. And significantly, it wasn't a commercially available postcard then.
Suggesting he gave it to her personally.
Very likely suggests that, yes. Trimboli was a postcard photographer and publisher with business in Norway, so a direct connection is plausible.
What about trying to get a better picture of what she actually looked like? The forensic sketches.
In 2016, NRK, the Norwegian broadcaster, commissioned Stephen Missel, a U.S. forensic sketch artist,
To create a new composite.
based on autopsy photos and witness descriptions, notably a former receptionist at the Horteheimen. Missel's image shifted perception a bit.
How so?
Showed a woman with more European features, less of the Oriental or Mediterranean look suggested earlier. Missel himself describes small eyes, roundish face, full lips.
But maybe influenced heavily by that one witness.
It's interesting how that single later account might have shaped the artistic interpretation, possibly overriding earlier Stavanger descriptions.
And the isotope analysis. That seems scientific, trying to trace her origins through her teeth.
Yes, 2016 again. Associate Professor Jurian Hugeverf analyzed isotopes in her teeth, like a geographical fingerprint from the water she drank as a child.
What did it suggest?
His probability maps pointed to places like Nuremberg for birth and maybe teenage years near the German-French border.
But there were caveats.
Yes. U.S. isotope expert George Kamenoff later noted the huge overlap of oxygen isotopes across Europe makes pinpointing origins really hard.
So not definitive.
But it did suggest she likely spoke German at some point, which fits with Vera Lucille Schlosseneck, one alias speaking fluent French on a flight. German and French are often linked geographically.
And Morgan points out they didn't consider non-European possibilities.
Right, like German-speaking communities in the U.S., for example.
Which brings us back to using facial recognition software. Comparing the police sketch to that photo of a Valentine from Minneapolis. Surprising results there.
Very surprising. Morgan used facial ID software on the 1970 police sketch and a February 1970 photo of a young woman named Valentine from Minneapolis.
And the result?
A surprisingly high confidence score for a match. The photo showed prominent teeth, full lips, features consistent with descriptions and Missel's observations.
But we need caution with face matching software, right? Especially sketch to photo.
Absolutely crucial. It's indicative, not definitive proof.
And the identity of that specific Valentine was later clarified.
Yes. Newspaper archives identified her as E. Valentine, only about 16 then. The archive owner concluded she wasn't in Norway.
Okay, so a dead end.
Not quite. Further digging found another Valentine, an occupational therapist in Vermont in 1972.
And she?
Visually matched the younger Valentine from the 1970 photo, raising the possibility this Vermont Valentine was in Norway.
Is it confirmation?
Registry info confirms Valentine's profession as an OT, and the U.S. stake given to Norwegian police matches. Research is ongoing to confirm the date of the Vermont photo.
So, a complex web of Valentines. But Morgan lists these coincidences, linking Valentine to the Isdal woman in Norway in November 1970.
He does. It's a compelling list of unanswered questions and overlaps.
Like what? Remind us.
The shared boot purchase. The matching suitcases found in Bergen. The hairband, could it be the same type? The second suitcase appearing in Bergen, where did it come from?
Right.
The possibility of an unknown family relationship, the
Ah,
constant fake IDs, her avoiding the birth year 1944 but using number 11 repeatedly.
right. Birth year was 44 and included 11.
The last fake passport number mirroring characters from hydrofoil ticket, potentially using relatives' names as street names on hotel forms.
It's a significant pile of related details. Let's talk about Samuel Isaac Schulman again, the American Express check.
Right. Schulman worked for Bliss Cosmetics. The FBI interviewed him because his old Amex check was cashed in Bergen the same day the Isdal woman was likely at that bank.
What did he say?
He denied cashing it in November. Said his last visit was October. Police suspected the Isdal woman might have forged his signature.
Maybe after meeting him.
Possibly. Maybe at the Neptune Hotel in Bergen in October. Interestingly, the bank clerk remembered the woman cashing it spoke mixed English and a Scandinavian language.
Which fits Valentine's heritage.
It aligns, yes. There are ongoing FOI requests about Schulman and Bliss Cosmetics, so there's still interest there.
And back to the birth year avoidance. 1944 skipped, 1943 or 1945 used instead, and the number 11 obsession.
As Morgan highlights, Valentine's birth year was 1944 and her birth date included 11. It seems too specific to ignore.
And the passport numbers.
The statistical analysis showing about 75% overlap between digits and the fake passport numbers, that's substantial.
And the last fake passport number especially.
Used at the Hordeheimen, contained characters from Valentine's hydrofoil ticket and numbers from her passport. Morgan argues this strongly suggests the Isdal woman in the hotels was Valentine.
A remarkably strong statistical point. And maybe using relatives' names subtly in the aliases.
Morgan explores that. Surnames like Hulda, Hildur, Fenema, showing partial similarities to relatives, could be subtle, personal connections hidden in the aliases.
The Isdal woman's age has also been a big question mark, hasn't it? Lots of uncertainty.
Absolutely. The Bergen pathology expert noted boiling the teeth in dye to clean them would have messed up age estimation using amino acid racemization.
So the results are unreliable.
It means different experts using different methods got conflicting results, from 25 to mid-30s, even late 30s, based on AAR results from Karolinska Institute later on.
Which makes comparing her age to Valentine's more difficult.
Definitely adds uncertainty.
And then there's that really peculiar detail. Morgan notes the aversion to the number 6.
It's intriguing, if speculative. He points out she seemed to avoid room number 6, passport number digit 6, the solo watch. The number 6 on the face was obscured, definitely. Those recurring reports of men in her hotel rooms planned to meet Normie in Bergen.
There's shared interest in reservoirs nearby.
Yes, inconsistencies about how many suitcases she had at different hotels. A 2022 handwriting analysis suggesting the Elizabeth Lienhauer signature might be different or written under stress. The enigmatic final entry in the travel diary. And just the ongoing mystery of Valentine's whereabouts. Why haven't researchers found her or heard from her? Instead of London L and Geneva G, he suggests maybe Larvik L and Gvarv G in Norway.
Which would align better with Valentine's potential movements.
It would fit more closely with her possible travels in Norway then. He also notes police didn't apparently check hostels thoroughly in Larvik and Bergen initially.
And introduces another potential identity.
Valentine.
So after all this detail, all this speculation, how does Morgan try to resolve this Schrodinger's Isdal woman?
He acknowledges the contradictions, but ultimately he leans towards she is in the box.
Meaning
he thinks Valentine was the Isdal woman, and that there's been deception, intentional or not, clouding the case. He also questions the Karolinska Institute's tooth analysis reliability.
and even suggests evidence tampering.
Raises the possibility of forged evidence, maybe to protect a state secret or for complex family financial reasons.
It's a strong stance.
And he highlights one piece of evidence he feels is overlooked. The umbrella. The blue umbrella found at the scene. He directs listeners to colorized images in his analysis. Shows an umbrella parade in Bergen, then the umbrella at the scene.
Emphasizing it hasn't been discussed much.
Exactly. A seemingly mundane item, but perhaps holding clues. For anyone wanting to dig really deep into the original documents, yes, David Morgan provides a link in his analysis to a collection of police evidence, so people can look at the primary sources themselves.
So there we have it. This deep dive has taken us through the, well, intricate details of the Isdal Woman case. Drawing from the diary excerpts and David Morgan's thought-provoking Isdal Woman, a new perspective.
Ultimately, the enigma of the Isdal woman. It continues to fascinate, doesn't it? A powerful reminder of an unsolved case's enduring impact.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.